Welcome to the Carson City School District Board of Trustees meeting, Tuesday, March 26th. We're going to call this meeting to order at 6:30. And the first item is adoption of the agenda. I just want to make mention before anybody makes a motion that we're looking to pull item 17, which is a budget update. I talked to Superintendent Fueling. We don't really have any updates since the last meeting. We're going to have a tentative budget being brought to us here soon, but we just felt that there wasn't any new information, so for that reason, we were going to pull it from tonight's agenda, if that's okay with the board.
I'll move that we accept the agenda as presented, omitting item number 17.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further board discussion? Seeing none, any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item 2 is the flag salute. Trustee Clapham, if you'll lead us off.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 3 is the superintendent's report. This is for information only. Superintendent Fueling.
Thank you, President Casiopo. First on Saturday, and I'm not going to steal too much time with this, but attended the NJROTC Military Ball. Very impressive event. I'm sure Trustee Varner, who also attended, probably will have some things to say. So I'll let him have some more thunder with that one. It was a great time. Excuse me. Tomorrow is an early release minimum day for all schools. Our board meeting, I'm kind of jumping around here, sorry. Sorry. Spring break starts Friday, this Friday, the 29th, with classes resuming on April 8th. The April 9th board meeting, we will be having a workshop before that meeting, starting at 5:30 to have some time reviewing current discipline law. We're expecting to have Ann Alexander in attendance to help us with working through some of that, just to give a better understanding of some of the changes in law that have occurred in the last session and just kind of the implications and how we're addressing those. On April 23rd, that board meeting will be starting at 6 p.m. That is our meeting in recognizing our employees of the year. So that'll be in the gymnasium at Carson High School. And then just a little bit of an earlier notification. On April 24th, we have our Community Connections event, formerly Community PLC. And this one, we've been having some incredible attendance and participation, which has been fantastic. This one will take a little bit of a different format. We're actually going to be sort of co-facilitating a meeting along with the Nevada Department of Education around artificial intelligence. This is a rapidly expanding area that is dramatically going to impact the work that we do, but it's also incredibly new, and trying to understand the implications of it and start talking about, are there guardrails around it, and how do we expect not only our students to engage with it, because this certainly is not going away, but as well for staff and expectations as a school district. So some districts are starting to have those conversations, and the Department of Education is looking to do some statewide sort of town halls. So the big part of that for us is the community event that evening. So planning to have food and have a robust discussion about this topic that everybody kind of knows about, but no one really understands. So I think it'll be a really, really interesting evening if you can attend. And that is
AJ, just two quick questions. Did you mention the time the community connection would start? And I missed the date of the board workshop.
so I believe we have that Community Connections event starting at 6 p.m. We'll get information out on that. Oh, the date, April 24th, Wednesday, April 24th. And then for the workshop on April 9th, that'll be starting at 5:30. Yep. The workshop will be here. The Community Connections event will be at Carson High School, I believe. I think we need to reserve that still, but that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to move on to board reports. Do we have any representatives from Carson High? I couldn't tell. There's all these young people out there. I wasn't sure who was in high school. Okay, we're going to move on to Pioneer Academy activities. And I don't believe we have anyone from Pioneer, but I'll make the Pioneer announcement once we go around and do our board reports. Nevada Association of School Boards. Rich?
Yeah, just a brief report. Just a reminder of the upcoming training on April 27th in Las Vegas. Professional development training on that day. Starts 7:30 in the morning, goes to 2 in the afternoon. I believe everybody has received a flyer that outlines the details of the training. And I believe that everybody who's able to go has probably already signed up. And really, that's about all I have for NASB.
And I know we've said this before, but just every time you get a chance to thank Rick, pass along our appreciation for all he's doing as the director in NASB. I think he's really done a great job with our workshops and just always having something for us to do and training for us to have. So
I will do that.
just pass that along. Let's see. Why don't we go on to board reports, and we'll start with Trustee Crossman.
Sure, thanks. For Fremont Elementary School, Dr. Ward would like to thank all those who participated in the parent-teacher conferences and wish everyone a relaxing spring break. Also, I attended with most of you last week the brunch with the board that the Carson High Student Council put on, and I just wanted to thank them for that. It was it's the most interaction as a board member that I've had with student council, and I think they're doing great things. And I'm really impressed with their You Matter Week that they're putting on this week, and I'm following it on Instagram to see what they've been up to. But I just wanted to thank student council for hosting us. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Varner.
Yeah, I enjoyed the brunch also. It was good to interact with the kids, with the young gentlemen and ladies. We have some amazing students here at Carson High and throughout the district. So it's it was very nice to be able to interact with them, like Laurel said. And Superintendent Fueling mentioned the military NJROTC ball Saturday night. It was held at the Atlantis. And there was a lot of decorum that was entailed into this ball. And I wanted to thank Lieutenant Commander Myers and then Cadet Battalion Commander Bean for inviting me to attend. It was very, very well done, very well prepared. A lot of ceremonial issues. And the cadets, as you looked out, there's about 300 of these young ladies and gentlemen out there. And as you look at them, at least when I looked at them, I thought, our future's in pretty good hands. We have some really good kids. And I tell you, they were well behaved. And then once the ceremonial part was over and the dinner was over and the dancing started, these kids had a lot of fun. They kind of broke free and they were really having a ball. And Superintendent Fueling even got in a little dancing, as I had to also. It was not a pleasant sight. But anyway, it was a very, very nice ceremonial dinner. And what I would like to is go ahead and start on Fritch now, if I could. Principal Brown is pleased to announce that Bonnie Benson, a fifth grade teacher at Fritch, is not only a national board certified teacher, she is now a national certified STEM teacher as well. Principal Brown and the staff are very proud of Bonnie and the professional strides she has made. And I think, speaking for the board, I think we'd be proud of her also for her endeavors and the extra work she's put in to accomplish that. Boardwalk Bray, they have quite a few events coming up. The SBAC testing will be from April 15th to the 26th. The PTO Family Movie Night will be held on April 26th. MAP testing is going to be May 6th through the 7th. Their Family Science Night will be on May 9th. And their Boardwalk Bray's Day at the Aces is going to be on May 12th. Mom and Muffins event is going to be held on May 13th. And their Attendance Carnival is going to be held on May 23rd. And they hope to see all the families at least make one of the events if they can. And you can also find information by calling their office or going on Parent Square for more information about these events. So that's my report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Walt.
Yes, thank you. For Carson High, just a reminder that there is no school tutoring classes, including the credit recovery at the high school center this Thursday due to spring break being the next day, starting on Friday as well. But it will then resume on Monday, April 8th. So do not fear for those of you who need after-school tutoring. And then I am excited to announce that, when we had facilities here and we talked about, or no, I guess we did at that meeting. I don't know if we did or not. However, the Empire Elementary School playground, and we were notified that the 4th and 5th really didn't have a playground, and it wasn't, when they go, it's out on the Park Terrace Park. And so with Mr. Fueling and the school district and Parks and Rec, the item will go to Parks and Rec on April 2nd. The meeting starts, if anybody wants to attend, at 5:30 here. It's an agenda item to do a proposed lot line adjustment to where then Carson City School District, it's a nice little adjustment right down the center, kind of. How many? Yeah, so 3 acres the school will get, and it will be fenced off, and the public will not be able to get into the playground. So we're hopeful that moves forward with the city agreement. So it will go to Parks and Rec, it will go to the Board of Supervisors, and then it comes here. So we're hopeful that moves forward positively. So it's very exciting, I know, for that as well. And then I just wanted to mention that last week we had, so I'm a member of the Carson City Health and Human Service Task Force for my day job, and as is the school district, has their committee member there as well. And there was another member there. The school district was doing a presentation, and another member mentioned how thankful she was for the school district. And there was a student who was in need, and she was amazed at how quickly the school district responded in so many different ways, not just, one person. She said it was just a team of school district employees that helped this family out. And it was done so quickly, so professionally, and they were very, very thankful. But they, just said that this is just an attribute of the school district in which Carson City has, that it's not just, the classrooms, it's not just the, what happens after school, the extracurricular activities, but it's a team coming together, helping, the families in need at that time, and they were extremely impressed and extremely thankful. I asked her if she would come and speak at public comment, but she says she doesn't like to speak in public. But yet, I really hope that she does. I asked then if she would at least write a letter, because I do think that it needs to be noted. And, and all of the people that were, instrumental in making this change for this family, I think need to be called out and thanked for that. So kudos. That was very good news. It was a very good meeting.
Great, thank you, Molly. Trustee Clappin.
Yeah, thank you. From Ms. Robinson, who we'll hear from in a little bit, I'll keep it short. SBAC testing will begin after spring break. Students are going to earn some points for bringing their Chromebooks charged and ready to go and for giving their best efforts. And this is Carson Middle School. If I didn't mention that, I apologize. And then they are finishing up Music in the Schools month. Last night, Carson City School District Orchestra performed at Carson Middle School. They did an amazing job, led by Dr. Fox. And from Miss Crookshanks, I have a novel here, so bear with me, everybody. Thank you, Miss Crookshanks. They kicked off their reading week with a full school assembly. During the assembly, Mr. Rodina and Miss Crookshanks rode into the cafeteria on a tandem bike. Mr. Rodina was in the front, honking the horn, blowing bubbles in Miss Crookshanks' face, and acting silly. She finally stopped the bike and got off. She complained that she needed her own bike, and this is how they kicked off their attendance incentive for one student at each grade level to win a bike of their own. Students can earn a ticket for the raffle by having perfect attendance for the week, no absences, tardies, or checkouts. This gives them the opportunity to get 10 tickets to win a bike. Mark Twain had a very successful reading week, which ended with their bingo for books night. They filled the cafeteria with family and kids of all ages. They played bingo, ate pizza, and raffled off donated baskets. By the end of the night, they were able to make sure every child in attendance was able to leave with a brand new book. Mayor Bagwell joined them for the event, and she spoke to families about the bicycle attendance incentive. They're also busy preparing for their state testing, which will be here before they know it. They're very excited for their new students to show their knowledge on these tests. After testing and towards the end of the year, they are working on some really awesome community partnerships for some spectacular year-end events. They're working with the Fandango Movie Theater, Gold Dust West, Bowling, and the Reno Aces, and they're excited to give their students some unique opportunities. And lastly, this week they have been awarded $15,500 in grants to provide opportunities for students. They will be starting an indoor and outdoor garden at Mark Twain, and they're really excited about the adventure. So great job, Mark Twain's staff.
That's all? Trustee Walker. Thanks, Matt.
I think that's the most I've ever heard Matt talk. And we've had a lot of conversations.
Vicariously through someone else. Right?
I wanted to start my report with a request from Ms. Robinson. As impressed as I am with the choreographed dance between the superintendent and Trustee Varner, maybe you could get one of Mr. Lewis and Mr. Williams at the next dance. So, and also just to build on, Bonnie Benson is an excellent teacher. She's not only board certified, but she also, I have sent her several of my new teachers for mentorship and for them to observe her, and they always come back with tons of great ideas and a lot more confidence. So congratulations to Bonnie. Seeliger Elementary School is just finishing up a family math night, and their parents learned strategies to help their child with math fact fluency. And there are some pictures sent of engaged parents, teachers presenting about the information, and then also a graph that shows pre-test in the fall, and currently there's lots of orange for growth. So great job to Seeliger, and they're looking forward to a jump rope assembly this Thursday, which is sponsored by the PTO.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Trustee Ramirez.
Okay, so from Dr. Conley, from Eagle Valley Middle School, Monday, March 25th, they had Hat Hoodie Day, $5 to benefit the Northern Nevada Children's Cancer Foundation. Last week, students purchased raffle tickets for $1 for a chance to shave the head of Miss Micaela Filocamo, seventh grade teacher, to benefit this great cause. She shaved her head last Thursday, and we do have the results of the successful fundraising event, which was $1,550.50. So congratulations for that very good outcome and for a very good cause. Wednesday, March 27, tomorrow, they're having breakfast for team students of the month and parents. This is their first breakfast. Each academic team, 5 to 6 teachers per team, selects one student per month who has shown great behavior, hard work, and a positive attitude. Students receive breakfast with their parent, a certificate, and a yard sign to display, which I think is very cool. Thursday, March 28th, recognition rallies. Students receive awards for map growth as well as perfect attendance. Students with perfect attendance were also awarded a hoodie day last week. So that concludes my report.
Great, Lupe, thank you. And a report from Pioneer. Speech and debate wrapped up the 23-24 season at the district's tournament on March 14, 15, and 16. The team's looking forward to a celebratory luncheon with Mr. Zona at the end of April to debrief the season. Last semester, Kristen Steinkraus, Pioneer Engineering and Science teacher, nominated Deb Uzel and Caitlin Nguyen for Aspirations in Computing Awards through an organization called the National Center for Women in Information Technology. Both of them received awards. Deb was regional winner, and Caitlin was a regional honorable mention. They will receive a medal and certificate as well as some other swag and have been invited to an award ceremony in April. Congratulations and thank you, Mrs. Steinkraus, for shining a light on their brilliance. Project Discovery's cross-country ski trip was today, which I believe was yesterday. Students enjoyed a trek to Chickadee Ridge and fed local birds while practicing leadership skills and fostering friendships as they have formed throughout the season. Math teacher John Corbett wrote a grant to receive funds for the ski team to buy healthy meal items to take on their last ski trip coming up in April, and I wanted to thank Mr. Corbett for that. And then last, the Panther Painting, Pizza, and Punch fundraiser to support the Eagle Valley Middle School Legos robotic team was a fun and successful evening. Thank you to all who attended and to Pioneer staff for matching the donation and adding to that effort. So that concludes Pioneer Academy's report. Next, we're going to move on to item 5, which is association reports. Do we have any association, Loretta?
Good evening, Superintendent Fueling, President Cassiopo, trustees, Mr. Russell, and Renee. I'm Loretta Marson. I'm the Vice President of CESA. And CESA would like to thank President Cassiopo, Trustee Varner, Trustee Walt, and Trustee Ramirez for their attendance at our monthly meeting held last Wednesday, March 20th. It was a well-attended meeting. Thank you very much for coming and listening to our craziness and concerns. On March 19th, Bev Singleton and I attended the JAC meeting, and I'm glad to see Mr. Feelings a little better. We had a little Zoom with him. We all thought he was on a beach somewhere, but hey, we couldn't see. On Thursday, March 21st, I had the pleasure of being on the advisory committee of the Employee of the Year for the ESP's interviews. And I have to say, I've been on this several times over the years, and I cannot say how impressed I am with our employees. They just it's hard to pick one person out of all of them. They all deserve more than just one award. They did ask for more salary, of course, but of course we can't do that. But CESA would just like to thank all of the people who won at each site. And we look forward to seeing them at the school board meeting on April 23rd in the Carson High School gym. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Loretta. Yeah, I would just add, I mean, I enjoyed attending that meeting, so I was very happy to be invited. And I think you have a nice group with a lot of people that, you know, have different ideas and concerns, but I like the fact that we were able to have those conversations and chat with everybody.
Yeah, and it's really refreshing to be able to share our concerns and our, like I said, our craziness there. But yeah, I think transparency is the best communication that we can have for all our employees in the district.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you. Are we, any other association reports, or are we good? Okay. We're going to move on to public comment. I know nobody submitted online public comment. Do we have any in-person public comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment and we'll move on to item 7. Item 7 is the annual report from Carson Middle School and Eagle Valley Middle School on programs, supports for students, and celebrations. This is for discussion only, and we have Principal Amy Robinson and Dr. Lee Conley. In what order? It'll be our surprise.
We're gonna do a dance together later. Yeah.
Right?
It's a pleasure to see you. I'm glad I don't have to be here every meeting, but it is nice to see you all anyway. We like coming in and being able to share what we're trying to do with our kids and with our staff. And Amy and I are able to get together not as often as I would like to share ideas. So it's kind of nice when we have an opportunity, a forced opportunity, but it's good. We're voluntold to do this, but it's good because we don't really get together as much as I think we'd probably like to, and probably as much as we should, quite honestly. She's doing great things at her school. We're trying to do good things at our school. So it's nice to be able to present together. So I'm gonna let Amy kind of start with a presentation, and we'll just kind of trade slides as we go through, I think. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask us either, at the moment or at the end. Before we get officially started, I wanted to say also, I haven't heard exactly the amount that Pioneer was going to donate to our Lego robotics kids, but just the fact that they did that is just so cool. I love it. And then today we actually got, and we had talked to them about it today, but we have gotten various large sums of money for donations, along with all the little ones that we've got. Just today, Les Schwab gave us another $1,000, which is fantastic. I don't know if you knew this, but the Carson City Schools Foundation ended up giving us $2,000. And then Rotary Club of Carson City gave us $3,000, and Click Bond, and we just some of our kids just went to a field trip for them today as well. They gave us $1,000. Now that is not all the donations, but those are kind of the big ones so far, and so we just want to really thank our community. The the Lego League of Northern Nevada representatives actually came by today after school and were giving our kids tips. So I don't know if I should say that out loud because I don't know if that's legal, but they were getting good tips, and so we're very excited that our kids were able to go down there. They're starting to get a little bit nervous, you could tell, but it's cool. They're there every day, fixing things on the robot, doing reprogramming and all that. So it's very exciting. It's going to be a lifetime experience for them, I think.
Yeah, when we met those kids a few months ago at Eagle Valley Middle School, they were impressive. And it really is just a small snapshot of all the amazing students we have in this district. I mean, really hardworking kids, and, and people have different thoughts about how schools run and all that stuff. But if you get a chance to go into a school and observe what's happening, I mean, they were impressive. And like I said, they're a snapshot of all the great things that are going on in both schools and in all our schools, quite frankly.
Okay, we're going to start with our multi-tiered systems of support. So that pretty much encompasses everything we do. So we're at Carson Middle School, we're currently moving into, next year we'll move into really perfecting our tier 3 interventions with our kids who, like the very small percentage who need extreme intervention, but we focus most of our energies on our tier 1 core instruction, behaviors. This year we implemented the point system, the digital point system, and that's been really successful. I know that they're using it at Eagle Valley as well. So we're just trying to think of all kinds of just different things that kids can earn points for. Lots of creative ideas. This week we have an assembly and they got to buy a place to participate in the assembly, things like that kids can just get excited about. So that's the behavior portion and in the tier 1 where we try to meet the needs of all of our students. And then we do that with our academics and attendance as well, just rewarding the good attendance, and working on our proficiency scales, our AVID instruction, or good instructional strategies. Do you want to add to our MTSS?
Just the fact that it is a, the whole district is doing it, but it's a whole school system. And I think it's been good because it's forced us to maybe look at some of our processes that maybe were not as clean and clear as they should have been. So as much as MTSS, you get something like this in a school and maybe your initial thought is, oh my God, another huge thing, really? But this actually is a system, I believe, that kind of brings a lot of things that we were trying to do together. And I think it's a system that has forced us to really look at some of those processes and figure out what's being effective and what isn't, and then really looking at data more. We're data rich, but we're very poor at having the time to look at all the data. And so I think MTSS has provided an opportunity for us also to just look at individual kids, look at small groups of kids, and then look at the whole school to figure out what the kids need, what's working for them, what isn't working for them, and then how we can support those kids. So yes, it is a lot of new stuff. It's a lot of training. It's a lot of dedication from the district and the schools. We focused on tier 2 a lot this year at Eagle Valley, and we're going to go back next year and still do tier 2 because we feel like we need to refine it a bit, but we're also going to dive into the year 3 of the implementation as well. So by the end of next year, the plan is for our schools to be pretty well cruising, and have the 3 years of implementation so we can have this process going smoothly from that point on.
One really neat thing about using the system is that when we talk about all the good kids that we tend to focus a lot, or the kids who maybe aren't having so much success, a lot of our attention goes there, but there are so many kids who are doing the right thing and doing what they need to do. And so this rewards them and recognizes them. So it's really neat to be able to do that and encourage everybody to be able to do that and give support to those kiddos who need the extra support and to be able to identify them.
And that kind of leads into the actual PBIS part of the Positive Behavioral Intervention Support System, which is like a point system, and the kids earn points for doing the right thing, for doing good. It is anything from holding doors open for people when they're coming in the door, to helping a buddy out, if he's struggling in class, to picking up if a kid got, he dropped all of his binders in the hallway and the kids stop and actually pick them up. Things like that. But it's also, like tutoring, like if a kid is struggling in class, going over and helping that kid understand that math concept better, for example. It's very funny. I'm going to give you a little personal story from just today. They can use their points for a variety of things. Now, if it was me, I'd absolutely buy donuts, I'd buy candy bars, I'd buy all the food, right? Yeah. Now, with this, they're legal, but they can buy that stuff, which is cool. But it's funny how many kids don't use their points for that. One kid last week, an 8th grader, used his points to buy donuts for his entire 4th period. Not just himself, but he's like, I'm buying donuts for the entire 4th period. So we run out, we get him donuts, we bring him back. Another kid, I had 3 kids today that use their points for positive phone calls home. Okay, if I'm a kid, I'm like, I'm not spending on my mom and dad. I'm going to go get me a candy bar. But when I call the parents, it's nice because I've unfortunately had to have a lot of tough conversations with parents and kids lately. It is springtime. And today I actually got to call 3 kids and their parents and say, we are so happy and proud that your kid is at Eagle Valley. Here's what they did. They've got good grades. They've got great attendance. They're just being kind individuals. They're not tardy. You're doing a great job of getting them to school. And for a kid to actually value what their parents think to say, I want to call mom or dad and tell them that I'm doing a good job at school, I think it's something special. So I got to do that. And then another girl was like, I got enough points. I'm going to make Conley go to Chick-fil-A and buy me lunch. And I am next week or after spring break, going to buy her lunch. Had one last week. And she gets to bring a couple of her friends in, and we just get to sit in my office and have lunch and talk. And it's just fun. So I will admit, with the points also, it's enabled me as a staff member and as a principal to not always, when a kid walks in the principal's office, dun, 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 right, you're in trouble. But this changes that relationship, I guess, and that concept that you can actually be coming into the office for positive things. And I think it increases the positive interactions with the community and with parents as well. And it's fun. It was the high. I'm like, I'm so glad you're here because I get to make a good call. I don't have to call and say, boy, your kid kind of got in trouble today. So that's been nice. We also, we've been doing things, again, it is individual based, it's small group based, it's whole school based. At CMS, they've got the CMS Gold, we've got the Stellar students. We both have citizenship grades as well. The recognition rallies that we're having quarterly, and that is everything from recognizing MAP growth to kids with, no behavioral issues. Also the kids that have, A's and B's and that sort of thing. So the academics as well, but behavior as well. Again, just like monthly attendance recognition as well. It's not only for the students though, but for staff. So we've been trying to recognize staff more for just positive things. We give staff shout outs at our monthly staff meetings as well. I know Amy does that as well. She is actually toying with using PBIS points for the staff. We have not dove into that yet. We're like, we're not quite there, but I'm gonna let her be the guinea pig
Yeah. We'll
and
give
try
it a
it for
try.
the staff. Yeah,
We're
why
going to do
not?
a raffle for an electric scooter.
Oh, for a teacher?
For a teacher.
Well, I can see workers comp written
We're
all
gonna
over
see.
that,
I know,
but that's
right?
okay.
Off campus.
Yeah.
Yeah, but some kind of reward.
Wow. Don't give it to Williams, whatever you do. And then, of course, we have like staff theme days. And we actually try to use staff theme days. Like we just had one, college and career readiness that joins right in with our AVID strategies. And so, the staff all dresses up like their alma mater, for example, where we went to school. So it's been a good positive focus, I think, more than anything. Rather, we get stuck on that 5 or 10% of the negative a lot, and that takes 90% of our time. This kind of allows you to get away from that, and you can focus more on positive. So I think it's good for the whole culture.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue with MTSS, PBIS, and all that.
Some of the other things that we're
Excuse me,
doing. Oh,
Before
yes.
you move on from
You bet.
MTSS, if I
Yep.
could, do
You
you
try.
have any data to show that there's been improvement with the students who are maybe more prone to have disciplinary issues? Have you started to see some improvement?
Well,
We haven't run specific
yeah, we haven't
data,
looked
but
specifically. at
we
that.
do at the end of the year. We actually compare like in-school suspensions, lunch detentions, things like that. We do compare year to year. We haven't done it yet. I can tell you that we have recognized more positive than ever before. I will tell you that. I mean, in my 20-some years as an administrator, we've never been able to reward so much positive. It's been reacting to the negative instead of being proactive with the positive. So I can tell you, not without specific numbers, but we will have numbers by the end of the year.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we
But
do.
I guess, your gut feeling is that it's
Yeah.
helping?
And like the kids that I've had lunch with are not kids that I would think would want to have lunch with me.
Yeah,
It's been
isn't
really
that funny?
interesting. It's like, really? You
That's
bought
true,
lunch
too.
with me? But, but they
You want
do.
a positive
It's,
phone call from me?
It's been
Yeah.
really like the kids, it's interesting. And they'll say, I'm saving up my points, and it's expensive. And they'll save it for, just to have lunch. And so I do think it's making a positive difference.
Good. And I'm glad to see that you're concentrating on some of the positive behaviors and
Yeah.
just not all negative.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
really
think
nice.
That's a really good thing.
And it allows those kids who maybe just play school well, who just do what they're supposed to do, who don't make a big stink about anything. They're shy maybe. It allows them to be recognized too, instead of just spending all the time. It's great, yeah, straight A kids and all that, but they get the recognition, right? So it kind of allows those kids that are kind of behind the scenes to kind of have a little more light shed on them, I think, which has been very cool. I've met a lot of new kids this way as well.
And they have some control over it too, because they get rewarded for having good grades or having good attendance, or so there's control over that
Mhm.
for them. So
And
that's nice.
I think it goes a long ways just to be recognized like that.
Mhm.
When anybody's recognized, it goes a long ways.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Any other questions about our?
MTSS or PBIS. All right.
Okay,
Next.
some of the other things that we're doing, we have both of us offer an extended school day, so a homework help. We both offer the robotics. Eagle Valley did a little better than we did. We're working on it. We offer math and ELA help after school, clubs, chess club. We have a gamers club, ESL intervention after school. We both offer credit recovery courses for those kids who are credit deficient, trying to get into high school. We've also implemented intervention classes this year more than we've been able to in the past. So this year we have a general intervention class and also some math intervention courses for kids who are just struggling with keeping up with skills. And next year our plan is to extend that to even more intervention courses, 6 through 8. We also, Eagle Valley's doing the same, and we're utilizing our in-school suspension room versus out-of-school, trying to keep kids in school and not out. It's just a better intervention for some of those behaviors than sending them out. So, and we both have that.
And I'll bring it back to MTS maybe again. With MTSS, it allows you to look at even your master schedule and the way you use your staff. And so like next year, we have some of our best teachers, one at each grade level for math, and so one at 6th grade for math, one in 6th grade for English, same for 7th. And they're actually going to be teaching intervention classes, so we were able to adjust our class sizes a little bit. And I'm just going to give an example, like for example, 7th grade social studies, Andrew Tiscarino, he's a social studies teacher, but he's a fantastic literacy teacher. So he's actually going to be teaching one period of an intervention class for literacy and reading, because our kids have big holes, they have big gaps, and so we're trying to focus on those kids. And it's going to be very fluid, so kids can come in, we're going to, give them assessments to see if they're learning. If they reach a certain criteria, we're going to get them back out into their elective class. So it's going to be very fluid, so kids are going to be coming in and out, but we're making a bigger effort to really, and this has to do with our school improvement plan. It has to do with, our bad star rating, let's be honest, we're trying to improve that. But it's an opportunity to really focus on those kids that really are struggling. And, you can't do them all at once, but we're going to try to chip through the kids and have them come in and out of the classes needed. And that'll be more for next year. We started dabbling with it. We do have a few classes this year, but we're going to be able to serve a whole lot more kids next year because we're changing our master schedule.
We also have an interventionist who specifically works with the kids, and that's been a real benefit to all of our kids. So she helps to identify the kids who need the help, then she pulls them out or goes into classrooms and helps with whatever kind of help they might need.
Of course, we've got a lot of, go ahead, the next, to the community partnerships. We've got a ton of people that are helping us. Everything from, the Sheriff's Department, Carson Juvenile Probation, they are actually coming into the school and giving workshops to kids. And they're kids that, might have, like we're doing some gang workshop stuff. I love the how did I get here, because it's all about, okay, you're in trouble, so what did you do and how did you get there? So they're looking back at how did this start? Where did my decisions go wrong? What could I have changed? So they're coming in with that. We still have partnership Carson City coming in, and they've been doing SOAR, and they've been doing this for years, but we're continuing to use them. Again, the Sheriff's Department, in fact, we have two of our finest. I don't know if they're still out there, but I like giving Kepler and Meade a hard time because, they're two of our great SROs that are working with the district, and just the partnership with the Sheriff's Department has been fantastic. But these community partners are trying to offer more classes and more training and more resources for our kids and our families. So a little more outreach also to families. We've been, for good and, not so good, but reasons to go like home visits. They assist us with home visits and things as well. But they're all attempts to try to get the kid back in school if they're, missing it for some reason, or support them if they're not feeling comfortable coming to school for whatever reason. But I think our community partnerships just keep getting stronger.
We actually asked our social workers, we both sent them an email and said, what are our community partners? You should, the
Oh my
list
gosh.
that they sent us was gigantic.
This
So
is just some highlight.
they really are good. It's nice having the social workers because they really reach out to those community partners and really include them. So it's
Yeah, I
nice.
mean, we don't have time to do that ourselves, so the social workers have been integral in doing that.
Yeah. Family engagement, it's always our goal to increase that family engagement. So this year, the things that we did that we haven't been doing in the past, one really positive thing were the parent-student-teacher conferences. We used to do those years ago, and then it kind of went by the wayside, and we implemented those again in the fall, and it was very successful. We used it at Carson Middle as an opportunity to really just educate parents about they're beginning to earn credits, this is the attendance policy, these are their MAP scores, all of that. And we had really positive feedback from that. We do our sneak peek every year before school starts, and that we get a huge turnout to that where kids get their schedules. That's probably our biggest, everybody wants to see their schedule. But we also do a back to school night so that parents can feel more comfortable with their kids at school. And then we also get input on their school improvement plans, on our 8th grade promotion. We have a very active PTO that does a lot of great work with our schools. We're both planning a springtime like showcase. Ours is based on our electives. So our electives department is putting on a showcase in April is the plan, to invite parents in and see what we do.
And we just had ours for Avid and Gate the last PL Wednesday, so a week ago.
And later in May, we'll invite the current 5th graders over for a scavenger hunt to kind of see what the schools look like. And I think you guys do the same.
We do. They
Something,
put them in
yeah.
shock a little bit. It's kind of fun. They always
Yeah,
have fun at those.
They do love
Yeah,
it.
they like it.
And then we have our awards days also at the end of the year where we invite families in.
So with all the good comes some challenges, of course. I will say, knock on wood, at this very moment, it may not last long, but I have all my positions filled for next year. I'm going to give it, I know he's not here, but I have to give kudos to Mr. Sadler and the district team because it has become, at least we have talented, viable choices now for some teachers. Before it was, boy, we can't even get anybody to apply. And I'm going to tell you, this year especially has been so much better about having options for good quality teachers, not just a warm body. And so I have to really say that's been a good thing. So right now, I have no unfilled positions. You're
I
getting
have
close.
a couple. I have a few people retiring, so I've got to, but I think we're moving along though. Same thing, we've had choices, which is
Yep.
really nice. Good people applying. Lots of people who are doing student teaching, and that's been really positive. Like they do, the student teaching in our schools, and then we
It's
have
good
the
to train our
opportunity
own. Yeah.
hire them. So that's been really positive. Our substitute teacher issues they're getting better. We're getting subs, so that's positive. It's still a challenge every day because we'll have unfilled positions and teachers have to fill in, which is, that's hard on them. But luckily, they're really good about
They've
doing
been
it.
willing to do it. Yeah, they're good.
So that's been really good. Some of our, we called it societal challenges. Just the apathy, was still seeing some of the students with some just general apathy, just a really hard time engaging and finding relevance in education. It's really hard when you have a conversation with a kid and they really have no idea what they want to do. They haven't thought about it. That's really challenging. I haven't really encountered that before as much as I do now. So just that's always part of our goal. Then how can we engage kids? How can we help them find the importance of school?
Yep.
And get them engaged through and one thing that happens when they're not engaged, then they become credit deficient because they don't have the grades, and then they don't get the electives, which is the other part that helps them buy in. So it's like this cycle. So
It gets tough.
I'm just thinking about, when we started doing those student-led conferences at CMS, one of the things I noticed was parents seemed much more engaged in that process, hearing from their own child what
Yep.
they're working towards, what they're struggling with. And so I think that maybe continuing on the path you're on is going to help with that. 'Cause you're going to get the support of the parents and an awareness of what's going on.
Yeah.
And Mr. Walker, that's interesting. You say that we run our needs assessment every year, and my counselors do it for us. And we ask the teacher or the parents, what types of things are you interested in? What types of things could you use help? And we design parent nights for those parent activities, and we've tried them in the morning, we've tried them at night, we've tried them during the day, we've tried it with food, without food. And yeah, and it's tough because, for example, we had one earlier this year, and I can't remember what the topic was. It might have been like a Google Classroom or something, because, parents don't know what they're doing with that. A lot of them don't. I don't. Thank God the teachers do. And we had one parent and 8 staff members there. I got to eat a lot of snacks. That was good. But it's just tough because just finding what they want when they are able to come has been a challenge. And so, it is. I definitely see it more at the middle school level than I did when I was at the elementary level. I think it's just natural, it's always been that way. But we're trying to find more ways to get parents involved. We're trying to find different avenues. We're even looking at, and my counselors, again, I have to give it to them, they've created some almost like online workshops or presentations. So at least the parents can get on and learn about it if they don't come to school to learn about it. It's almost like tutorials. For example, this is how you work Google Classroom, right? So that's been nice. It's one thing I've noticed more this year than most, and I will say it's more with one grade level than some others, is student behavior of, I'm just going to do this, and I don't really care what the consequences are. But then to make it more challenging is the parents not holding their kids accountable for doing that. And so that's been more of a challenge lately, and I don't know if it's springtime or if it's just the way society is now or what it is, but just this more, well, my kid would never do that. And it's kind of hard to let the parents know that, well, your kid did make a bad choice. It happens. We all did growing up, but let's make it a learning opportunity for the kid instead of just allowing them to not be held accountable for it and just keep making those bad decisions. I just think it's very unfair when it's as simple as, if we allow a kid to chew gum and we don't tell them that they're not supposed to chew gum in school, and then all of a sudden we come down hard on them and tell them that you can't chew gum, that's not fair to the kid. Because, ultimately a kid in middle school is going to cross the line. They test it, right? They push. And so I think that's one of our challenges, is trying to get parents to understand. And most parents, I will say most parents are very good about saying, no, you hold my kid accountable, but it's become a little bit more prevalent, at least for me, where that is not the case. And we're getting a little bit more pushback on, holding the kids accountable for academics, for behavior, for even attendance. It's been tough. Of course, social media. Don't even get me started on that. Phones. 90% of our issues on Monday come from social media.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that doesn't happen at school. And I guess that's a good thing. Most of our problems don't begin in school. They begin out of school and they end up coming into school sometimes. But I can truly say I don't think most of our problems begin in school. So I'm going to take that as a positive.
I would agree. The social media and phones are a big issue. Very difficult.
Tardiness, absences. Oh, sorry.
I do have a question. When you talk about the apathy and the disciplinary issues that the kids are having, if you could put a percentage on the amount of kids, is it like 10% of the kids, 50%, 5%, or it's just kind of a hypothetical thing, I know.
Yeah.
The apathy part is probably a little higher than like like if I were going to talk about kids with real severe behavior, that's probably like 10%. But when you talk about the apathetic kids who get Fs, it's that number's probably more like 20%.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And they just don't, like, the F doesn't bother them. And that's really hard, when you're trying, and the teachers are trying all different ways to figure out how to incentivize it, or, come
Support
in at
it.
lunch,
Yep.
anything they can do. So that's our challenge, is finding different ways to engage them.
And I
For
think
sure.
I think you're right. When I talk to teachers at all levels, high school, middle and elementary, I think kind of the lack of concern, like you said, hey, there's a consequence, and they're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a group effort. You know, we need families to help us out, and the vast majority of the families, you know, they're trying and they're doing a good job. But
Absolutely.
trying to connect with those kids that are struggling in that regard, that's the hard part. And that's the frustration with, you know, staff, teachers, administrators, is how do you connect with those
Yeah.
kids? And I think things like MTSS and whatnot, I mean, you're almost looking for like weaknesses in the fence. How do I punch through to find that thing that's effective?
Yeah.
And I just give all of you kudos because it's hard. And my
Mhm.
wife comes home at night some days and she's
Yeah.
just like, what
Just worn
happened?
out.
What
Yeah.
happened? You know?
Mhm. It is.
And
It's been a
it's struggle.
shift. Yeah.
It's a struggle. And hopefully, you know, it's kind of, you know, these things ebb and flow. And
Mhm.
hopefully we kind of
Mhm.
start moving in a good direction.
And Joe, I can tell you, I see a difference with our current sixth graders where they aren't, well, they're not eighth graders yet, and maybe that's why. But our sixth graders seem like they're a little bit more into, okay, I do care. They're very talkative. They're a little immature as a whole group, and boy, they are talkative. But it's okay because they're caring. I see more caring between them, more empathy between them. And I do see a little bit more of involvement in their own learning in sixth grade. And again, our goal and our challenge is to keep that spark through seventh and into eighth grade and then into the high school.
I think you have that with a lot of kids. I mean, I look back when we were in school, and it really, I like to think it's what we're doing here in our district, but I think in a lot of degrees, it's just kids in general. They're more inclusive with each other than they were when we were in school. We had our cliques,
Mhm.
and if you were this group and not this group, well, you better not walk that way.
Yeah.
And now it's like these kids of all different backgrounds and interests tend to come together a lot more, and just finding ways to encourage that and getting that kid who might normally not want to, you wouldn't think would eat lunch with you,
Right.
eating lunch with you, and their friends hear that. Hopefully that's infectious
Mhm.
and it, you know, in a positive way. And we, you know, we get more kids with that kind of interest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you for attendance, I can speak. I'm not sure about, I'll let Amy talk about Carson Middle, but our attendance, our chronic absenteeism has been dropping, which is good. Still too many kids coming in tardy, you know, in the morning. And it seems, again, it's more or less usually the same people. And I just want to say, well, and I have said through Parent Square and all that, set your alarm 5 minutes earlier. Just get here 5 minutes earlier. That's all we're asking. But that's difficult for some families. I understand that, but we're still trying.
Yeah, I would say attendance is still a big issue.
Yeah.
The one thing I found that's helped a little bit, at least has started conversations with parents, is I've just been advertising, this is the district policy. You have to be here 90% of the time.
That has helped.
And I've had actual meetings with parents who are concerned about that, which is nice, you know, that it's just an awareness. So I'm just trying to get the word out. This is our policy and this is the law. You're supposed to be here. So that's helped. You know, and we just keep working on it. It's always a goal to increase, you know, reward. And where our hope is through with our PBIS point system that kids they can only earn points when they're there. So maybe they'll want to be there more. That's kind of our goal.
I have a question on that. When you list limited transportation, are you talking about the busing routes? Is the walk route still pretty big? Is it too big? What's your
Carson-
concern with that?
For Carson Middle School, we have a considerable population that lives right across Highway 395, and that's a tough for that, and it's a big chunk of kids. Like, it's a big part of our population. They're in the walk zone, and so that's hard for them. We do have struggles there. So they're just far enough that it's quite a distance, and they have to cross that busy street. And I think that's, you know, for some families that they don't like, you know, it's hard.
And Eagle Valley, you know, just physically, we're kind of set off to the east. And so everybody and their dog drives their kid to school. And it creates a big traffic issue as well. You know, one way in, one way out, pretty much of Eagle Valley. It's more a logistical thing, I think, for Eagle Valley, just because it is quite a long way for anybody in the Seeliger area to come over, because you got to go all the way down past the, you know, National Guard Armory. And yeah, there's a nice sidewalk there, but it's still a long way. And, you know, the parents want their kids to be safe. But even from Empire, we get a lot of traffic even from the parents and families from Empire. So yeah, I mean, if we could provide more busing, I think it would help, or you know, a smaller walk zone maybe.
Well, and I'm just wondering, are the buses arriving full, or are more parents pulling kids off the buses?
No,
So
our
we'll run
buses
in the
are pretty
routes
full.
and,
Our
like, how-
buses are full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've been on time. They've been done a great job of running the routes, but yeah, they're full. But I think we could probably end up offering, I would bet that if we offered more, we'd probably get more kids riding the bus. And I don't know that for a fact.
I think for the walkers that have to cross that street, because I always worried about that
Mhm.
at Carson Middle School and Bridge.
Mhm.
You know, it's dark. You can't see those
Mhm.
kids.
Yeah.
And so I think, one of the things I used to like is when we'd have those joint meetings with the supervisors, because I would throw that into the discussion very often, because we need better lighting down there, because kids are, little kids and
Yeah.
big kids are
Mhm.
crossing that street, and it's very hard to see them.
And it's not like they wear bright orange vests.
Right.
And they aren't always, real.
Paying attention.
They're not paying
paying-
attention, yeah.
I didn't know how to put that.
Yeah.
They're not always aware of what's going on.
We've kind of mentioned some of these things, but some of our plans for next year, we of course have our summer school offerings at Carson High School and Pioneer. We're hoping, Ms. Fuson, that the numbers aren't quite as big this year. They've been big in the past couple of years. And we've been having a lot of meetings with parents and kids about you are in danger of retention and, summer school and this and that. So we've been busy with that. So, but at least we have those offerings, and we've got great staffing and teachers, I think, that are already ready to go for that. We do still have the credit, the skills recovery. Again, those in the intervention classes as well. Just kids might be out of an elective. Being an XPE teacher, I really see the value of being a kid being in an elective. Sometimes that's what gets them to schools. They have fun in their electives. And so we try to not just permanently take those electives away, but try to find an avenue, like I'd mentioned earlier, so they can get back into an elective if they're pulled out temporarily. But we'll end up doing that. I know that, both of us are going to be very intentional with student placement and what kids we put into our remediation classes, our support classes, our intervention classes as well. We're still doing teaming. We did our first year at Eagle Valley this year for teaming, and it's academic teaming. So we've got a social studies, science, English, and math teacher all on a team. Plus, then we try to bring in the elective teachers. And physically, we put all the teachers right next to each other as much as possible. And I got to tell you, it's helped with our tardiness between classes, because the kid literally has to walk 5 steps from social studies to math, or 15 steps from math to English. So they stay in a general area 80% of the day, and it truly has helped, and it's helped reduce the number of issues in the hallways as well. So we're going to continue teaming. We've also had very good luck with teachers. We on the PL Wednesdays, we've really utilized those days for those team teachers, the teams of teachers to get together. And that little Mike Walker, he's being kind of a little monster. We got to talk about him. And so they talk about what he's struggling with, for example. And so, yeah, you did, yeah. Sorry, Mike. But it's been good because they've been able to kind of focus in on specific kids more too, and figure out what we can do with them as well as cross-curricular planning and things like that. So that's been helpful. We're gonna continue with that. Of course, we've got our improvement plans based on our data and our sub-pops, and we're gonna continue focusing on our subpopulations as well. We'd mentioned the incoming, we have like our boot camp, and what do you guys call it?
Our sneak peek.
Sneak peek. And then, of course, we've got our 5th graders coming in this year to get a little scavenger hunt at the end of the year. And then, of course, we'll continue to refine and utilize those parent-teacher conferences as well.
So for Carson Middle School, looking forward to next year, we will continue with our intentional scheduling. So we've been really paying close attention to how we schedule kids. We have, we have a lot of parameters that we have to follow. The kids who are gifted and talented have teachers who are certified, have endorsements, and kids who are non-English speaking, all of that. So we have all those parameters, but we're really trying to diversify some of our scheduling to allow for more collaboration among teachers. And so where the kids aren't just clumped together, moving together. We also, at Carson Middle, we have common department prep. So instead of teaming, all science teachers have the same prep time so that they can collaborate and continue working on their proficiency scales and their best practices. We next year are going to utilize our AVID coordinator to provide instructional coaching for our staff. So we're going to work that into our schedule so that we can start, because our goal is to really, like I said, increase that engagement. So the higher engagement we can have in every class, the better, obviously. So that's one of our goals and our plans. We'll continue to utilize our interventionist to identify the need and provide specific support to kids in need. We will add additional interventions classes to improve the reading in our students, and we'll continue to improve our MTSS process by moving into our Tier 3 interventions and then refine our processes with 1 and 2. And we're also, right now we use Character Strong for our social emotional learning. And I did a little focus group with some of the classes, and they're like, we're not finding this very relevant. So we're looking at getting more specific, really utilizing our school-wide data to kind of form that SEL, what we do for our social emotional learning, kind of what we're seeing as the need at the moment. And so we have kind of a loose plan right now of how that's going to look next year, but that's how we really feel like our kids need some communication skills. They're really lacking in all kinds of communication, even asking their teacher for help. They just struggle in identifying, this is what I need help in. So that's our goal for that. And we're just continuing our shift in restorative practices. So this year with our detention, it's not just you go to lunch detention. They do actual restorative practices in their detention, and they have to do an assignment and get everybody's signatures and kind of reflect on what went wrong and what they can do differently. And we use that in our in-school suspension as well. So that's our goal.
Ours is going to mirror a lot of that with maybe just some different approaches or some different tweaks to it. Again, that intentional scheduling, for the kids that truly need it, and, based on the data of their everything from MAP testing to SBAC to just their unit test, their classroom assessments. We also do have the common department preps, our PLCs, that's during the week. And then we're going to continue using our PL Wednesdays. Again, those have been very, very valuable for us. And we've been doing things like, working on the proficiency scales. We're going to continue that as much as possible. These, common assessments, comparing data with the kids. We're going to try to utilize our AVID coordinator. We're trying to find a way, I'm still trying to find a way to work that into a master schedule so it's like a daily kind of a prep time for them to be able to go out, or have them be a little more flexible. I haven't gotten it figured out yet, but we're working towards that. Again, altering our master schedule and utilizing my very, very best teachers to teach reading and math interventions. And I think we can afford doing that by upping our numbers just a little bit in classes. Instead of 25 or 26, they might have 28 or 29 kids. But my teachers, they can handle that. They're good. Refining our Tier 2, and then for MTSS, and diving into Tier 3 as well. And then with our advisory, we're actually going to extend advisory by about 12 or 13 minutes, like around there. But every morning, the whole school starts with advisory, and it's going to go up to about 40 minutes next year, because we found that with our SEL curriculum, and we're going to continue doing the Character Strong. But what we were finding is there wasn't enough time in a 25-minute advisory class once you get the kids in there, sat down, ready to go. It wasn't enough time to really do a quality job with the lessons. So we're increasing our advisory time a little bit, which means we'll take about 2 minutes off of each classroom is all it amounts to, each period, to make up that time. But we do everything from SEL to academic intervention, enrichment, and organization. We have the kids do grade checks every single week. And then Fridays are those days where the kids that have all their work in, no missing assignments, good behavior, they actually get to go down to like the gym or outside and do like a group activity as well. We're going to try to get more kind of like Harry Potter, like having team competitions as well next year. We talked about it this year, but we were never able to get it going. But we already have our team flags, so we have that. But we're even, we're trying to get more friendly competitions and things like that established as well to help establish even a more positive culture. And then our ALC, our Alternative Learning Center is what ALC stands for, ISS room. I have a phenomenal teacher in there. I was able to really, Katie Hurst is her name. Shout out to Katie. Woo woo. She's awesome. She has a vast background in working with adults with disabilities, to working with prisoners, to working with kids that are from preschool all the way up to 12th grade. She's got a very interesting background, and it all works very well because during ISS, it used to just be get in there, be quiet, try to get some work done. If you sleep, at least you're quiet, right? That was old school ISS. It didn't work. Now they actually do work on missing assignments. They actually go out and do 30 minutes of community service every day. They get fresh air. They go out, they pick up garbage around the school as a team. Yeah, but then I walked in today and she was giving them a lesson on like decision making. You know, guys, you got to think about your decisions. Who does it affect? It's not just about you. So it's become, again, a lot more restorative, a lot more proactive, and a lot more training of the kids, not just a punishment. But let's use this time. We got them. It's a captive audience, right? Let's do something positive with that. So we'll continue to do that. We just had a meeting today on some things we're going to tweak. But again, we'll just keep trying to improve that process as well. You can kind of see we're trying to do, I think, even though we don't get, I said this at the beginning, I wish we had more time to get together, just us as a middle school team. And we did actually go out and had breakfast one time, and we need to do that again. One time, and then we all got too busy. Yeah, but one time this year, but we need to do that more because anything around food is good. But, you know, just to share ideas and plans and all that. But I think overall, even though we don't get enough time to do that, I think just, through our conversations at our principals meetings or at our COPs or whatever, we get a chance to share some ideas. But I think we could do a better job as two middle schools of just trying to plan together and, hey, did this work for you? What did you do for this? I'm not creative. I'm going to steal all their good ideas.
I'm
okay with that.
Tonight, I'm like, ooh, we're
Yeah. So we look forward to that. And I think for the most part, I hope that kind of gives you an idea of where we're heading and what we've been doing.
So, you know, one of the things I often say is the hardest grades are kindergarten and middle school. And
Kindergarten, first, and second are scary, and they're sticky. They're harder.
the
They
real
are.
thing is kindergarten's the real scary grade.
Yes,
But
they
middle
are.
school is, you know, it's tough. And
Yeah.
one of the things I learned over my years at Carson Middle School as the dean of students was they're just little kids in big bodies.
Yes, they are.
It's
developed.
yeah.
Yes, they
And
are.
I mean, they
Yeah.
really, some of the kids that I had the best relationships with, the kids that were sent to me often.
Mhm.
But what I love is hearing the ideas, and I took some ideas away from you both with your BBIS system, but to have middle schoolers wanting to call their parents and get positive
Yeah.
notes home, or to get donuts for their whole class as
Mhm.
opposed to something for just them. You know, it's inspiring, and I think you're on the right track. And it's just building those relationships and kind of keeping that environment really positive. I think that's going to
Yeah.
suit you well.
Yeah, for sure.
And let's be honest, it's more fun for us.
Yeah, you don't want to
It
work
is.
in a negative environment.
So thank you for your presentation. It was so good to see both of you and hear about both schools. I wanted to make a comment. My first year teaching was at Eagle Valley, and I don't know that I would have survived if we didn't team teach. So we were the road runners.
that, huh?
We were the road runners. And that was the theme. The whole theme of the school was whatever that cartoon is, or the whole, it wasn't Disney, but whatever that is. And each of us got to, choose a mascot, and that's what we were. But the team teaching, because we were all together, and I had 4 mentors, for all of that. And it was just extremely valuable being a first year teacher. And, I'll never forget Wally Keller. He was an extreme mentor for me during that time there as well. And then over at Carson Middle, teaching there, having those preps with the subject was extremely valuable as well. So I think you're both, what you're doing, it worked, and it was very supportive of the teachers. And I think that's important to recognize as well. I know the kids enjoy it and it helps the kids, but I think it is very well received from teachers as well.
And I should have given a shout out to this group in here. I should have included it in my presentation. We have got a phenomenal new hire mentor team. And those teachers that are coming in, you guys, in this district, we actually use this as a selling point when we are interviewing teachers. We say our district is phenomenal at supporting new teachers, at offering any type of support, any kind of questions you have. There's always somebody that will step in, and if it's not within our school, it'll be from a different school or within the district, from the district level coming down to help us. But I tell you, I think we set our teachers up for success. And then I think all they have to do is take advantage of it and run. But I really do think, and talking to people from Washoe and from Douglas and from Utah, my brother works in Utah. I got friends that are teachers in Washington State. You guys, they don't have this stuff. And so I think it is something that we really have done a good job of in this district, is supporting our new teachers. But it's a selling point for us now as well.
Yeah.
Any other board questions?
I just want to also thank you guys for your presentation. It's always very informative to hear what you guys are doing in the middle schools, and I really appreciate all that you're doing for the students. And I hear you guys are struggling with the parent component, and I would just want to encourage you not to give up. Please don't give up.
No, for sure.
We need those parents at the school. We
Yes.
need those parents, to be part of the team. And I think that there should be other ways that we can, reach out for help to get those parents to the schools. I personally even offer myself to make those phone calls and say, parents, can you go to Eagle Valley Middle School, Carson Middle School? They're having an event tonight. I just think that we should look outside the box and seek for ways to get the parents at the schools.
And I think Ms. Ramirez is coming tomorrow morning for donuts and some coffee
Oh, good.
and orange juice and oranges. You're all invited. It's donuts. It'll be food. It's 7:15. Park in the front parking lot. But we're and it's just a small group of parents and students. But you start small like that, and you kind of build from that. So come by if you're ready for a donut. Thank you, everybody.
I had one quick question for you guys before you go. I know we have interaction between the grade levels and like some interaction between like elementary to middle school to high school, but do we have anything for like, when kids first come to middle school, 6th grade, that like they get like a field trip, for lack of a better word, to the high school to say, hey, you're just starting middle school. In 3 years, you're going to be in high school. Kids always like at that age, they always want to be older. Right, then they get my age and no one wants to be older anymore. But, they're excited about, hey, someday I'm going to be in high school. Some are scared, but do we have anything? It's almost like for those kids that are in the middle,
Yeah.
they're not excelling, they're not doing terrible, but it's like another incentive for, here's what we're prepping you for. When you mentioned, some of these kids don't know why they're there. They don't know why they're doing what they're doing. Do we have anything like that where we hit them early?
No, and I think that's we have it for 8th graders, and the high school has done a really good job with coming down to us and just telling. A lot of times this year they've come and shared. I think
What's
all
available, look at all the
experiences, high school
opportunities.
experiences. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great idea to bring it earlier.
And I think it's good. I mean, I've done over the years when I go into schools and talk about engineering and whatnot, you tend to talk to the older kids at the high school, and you want to give them, hey, here's what I would do if I was you. And it, I don't want to say it's too late, but it's like, if you would have done this as a sophomore.
Yeah.
So I think if you catch these
a good
kids
idea.
early, maybe it gives some of them that incentive to come to school, and they kind of see, what's not that far away. I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
a good
great
thought.
idea. It's a great idea.
But anyway, thank you. Oh, Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, I just got, as I look at the high school, and we have these clubs. We've got HOSA, we've got the NJROTC, speech and debate, a lot of different clubs. And the kids that seem to be involved in those seem to be the ones that are excelling, coming to school, attendance, et cetera, good attendance. I know we have the robotics club in the middle schools. We have other clubs that we could encourage kids to get involved in and maybe get them more excited about coming to school every day.
We actually did start a HOSA chapter this year. A teacher stepped up, Caitlin O'Loughlin. And the kids actually went to a competition and won a couple of awards up in Reno last week or the week before. So started that. And then, geez, what was the other one you had mentioned? I should
We
have-
got the HOSA, we got the speech and debate.
Oh, we have a speech and debate class. And it's an elective that kids can actually take. We just started that this year, but we're going to continue it because the kids seem to enjoy that as well. And then we're starting, and again, this is Shelby Lynn Beatty. She's a new teacher this year, came in from Winnemucca. She is starting a peer tutoring program, and we actually had our first training today. We're going to pilot it this quarter. But we have 20 eighth grade students that are going to be peer tutors, and we're working out the system on how we get kids invited in, or they request that they want to come in for a tutor. So it's going to be kids teaching kids their math and social studies and things like that. So that's another opportunity, I think, for leadership for some of those kids as well. So yeah, we've got a few things that kind of, I think, align. I think we could probably do a better job of looking at what the high school has and starting to align and maybe offer more if possible at the middle school level.
And yeah, because we do some of the CTE courses that start kind of at that middle school level, but not as many of those clubs.
Yeah.
So yeah, to get,
Yeah, that's just a thought.
yeah, for sure.
If they're
It's a good
involved in
idea.
something, they may
Mhm.
want to come to school, they'd be more excited about it.
Mhm.
Yep. And it's just building the future for the strength when they get into high school for those clubs. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we are going to move on to item 8, discussion on proposed changes to CCSD Policy 517, high school graduation requirements, graduation ceremonies. This is a first reading for discussion only, and this is when the meeting starts getting good.
Okay, thank you very much. For our policy and regulation, there were some changes that were made during the last legislative session. Of course, that necessitated some updates. So starting by looking at policy 517, the update that occurred was one of the bills that necessitated the allowance of schools and districts allowing students to wear traditional tribal regalia or recognized objects of religious or cultural significance at school graduation ceremonies in accordance with, it was Assembly Bill 73. So we have always done that in our district. To be honest with you, that's not been really a challenge. You guys all go to Carson High's graduation and Pioneer's graduation. But there's been other districts in the state that have had much more restricted I guess dress code really for those ceremonies. So that's the reason why the bill was passed. But in order to make sure that we keep that at the front of our minds in case we have different principals who want to change dress code at those ceremonies, et cetera, I felt it was important for us to go ahead and add that into our policy. So if you're looking at policy 517, we took the opportunity, of course, to update it by changing verbiage, like instead of just having Board of Trustees, to put the Carson City School District Board of Trustees. So those obviously are just updates to the format. And then at the very bottom of the last paragraph is where I put that statement in. So that's really the only change that you see on policy 517. And then we did update the NAC and the references at the bottom. But are there concerns or questions?
I just have a question in the second paragraph when it talks about that the board shall award a high school diploma to every student who fulfills the requirements of the Nevada revised statutes and the district. And I know I'm referencing our next agenda item with it, but the sentence in the regulation refers to that the board will award graduation requirements established. It says established by the board and approved by the State Board of Education. So I just think we don't mention the district in the second one, and we mentioned the board twice. So I just think that we should be, and we don't mention the State Board of Education in this policy. So I'm not sure if we should have NRS in both places or Board of Education in both places, or how we should word that. But I'm just noticed an inconsistency in that.
Okay.
On what who's setting the group graduation requirements.
So graduation requirements are set in NRS.
Okay.
And then in the Carson City School District, so as a minimum. So the NRS states the minimum. The reason why I say that is because we actually have higher requirements, as you all know, we've talked about before. in our district. So we require specifically that students have 4 years of math and 3 years of science. NRS says 4 years of math or 3 years of science. There's a flex credit piece there. So in this particular policy, it's actually NRS and the district. But in the regulation, when we get to the regulation, maybe that's where we need to update that.
Thank you.
Ms. Rich?
I'm just curious on the last sentences you added. Students will be permitted to wear traditional tribal regalia or recognized objects of religious or cultural significance. When you say recognized, is there some place that lists what's recognized, or is it kind of a judgment call from each school district?
That is an excellent question. This verbiage was taken directly from that bill. I don't think it's been tested, obviously, at this point in time, and usually through lawsuits. The one thing that comes to mind right now is one of the challenges that we've had as a district is occasionally we have students that want to carry flags of different countries during graduation ceremonies, and we do not allow that. We do, however, allow them if they want to put a flag and paint a flag on the cap. Absolutely. So when I think that's what it's going to start to play out in the eyes of different suits that come to bear, right? But in this case, it's what we do allow in our district, like I said, is them to paint their caps and or to wear different stoles. Many of our students of the Hispanic culture will wear stoles that represent that flag, but instead of wrapping themselves an entire flag, we're like, that's not appropriate. What's appropriate in terms of regalia would be stoles, cords, and again, we allow the decorating of caps. So I think that'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but this verbiage was taken directly from the bill.
And I'm just thinking other objects of cultural significance would be the leis.
Correct. Yeah, we do lays and yeah. You know, again, we've been very open and accepting of what we would consider acceptable adornments, which, like you said, lays, cords, those types of things that they adorn their outfits with. But as long as they're school appropriate, we do check the hats to make sure that they're not vulgar, right? That kind of thing. And then we just provide them with an alternative hat if they come in with something that's vulgar on their hat. But I mean, that's how we've handled it. But so far for our district, it's really been a positive thing for our students. They really like it. It's very rare that you have to say no. And like I said, the only thing that's really been questioned is, again, can I wrap myself in a flag, a big, huge flag? And we've said, no, that's not a traditional component of the ceremony. So that's kind of what we stood on so far. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, if there's no other suggestions to this, I will be bringing that back at our next meeting for a second reading.
Perfect. Thank you. So now we'll move on to item 9. I'm sorry, are there any other questions? Okay, we move on to item 9, discussion on proposed changes to CCSD Regulation 517, graduation requirements, for discussion only.
Thank you again. Tasha Fuson for the record. So anytime that we have to update a board policy or regulation, we like to at least bring the corresponding item to the board as well. So in reviewing the Regulation 517, really what I wanted to do here is just take the opportunity to simplify it. It didn't really change in content at all, but it was a long policy, or excuse me, a long regulation. So I'll kind of walk you through those updates. So if you look at page 1, again, it's just updating the format there by adding the Carson City School District Board. And of course, Trustee Crossman, where you've seen that update, please point that out to me. If you're looking at page 2 has a table that shows exactly what the diploma options are. So in our district, we have a standard, advanced, college and career ready, alternative, and adult ed. It reads down that it tells you what the number of credits that are required in each of those areas. And I thought it did a nice job of actually putting it in one place so people can compare the different offerings. So if you look then at page 3, you'll see that I did a strikeout of our current verbiage under required assessments to earn a diploma. One, because it really included more information than was necessary. For instance, under letter B, it has science. Science is actually, although we have to test students in science for federal reporting, it's not a graduation requirement. So we do assess our students, but if a student misses the science test for some reason, comes in as a junior, and we normally test in the sophomore year, we don't make them do a makeup. It's not a grad requirement, if that makes sense. So that just simplified to that bottom part on page 3, where the only required assessments currently are the ACT plus writing for college and career readiness. You'll notice that has class of 2024. The class of 2025 is still being discussed at the state level, whether or not they're going to change ACT. You may have remembered there was some discussion about this last year. They were going to go away from the ACT, and then they had difficulties with that request for proposal to bring an alternative one in. So that has not been 100% resolved as of yet. But what?
You know, there's a lot of talk also with the portrait of a learner the state is implementing and trying to move away from seat time requirements and allow it to be more responsive to student need and interest. So, I mean, it's kind of an interesting time because there's a possibility you could see some changes.
Absolutely. And all current NRS says is that there has to be college and career ready assessment. So that's why you see that for 2025, right? There will be a college and career ready assessment. It may or may not be the ACT. It may be the SAT. It might be an SBAC or equivalent. Might be something we develop as a state. But currently in state law, there's that assessment, and there's not a pass rate or a pass level on that assessment. It's just a participation requirement. And then there is the requirement for the civics assessment. And we do present to the board every September on what our civics assessment results were for the previous year. So that is a requirement for graduation as well. Again, not a required pass level or rate to pass that, but they have to participate. So that simplified that, I think, taking the rest of that information out above it. And then if you take a look at page 4, I do want to point out, because it's easy to miss, in number 2, it says a student who is transferred into a district high school as a junior or senior who cannot earn the 4th math, it did say, or the 3rd science, that actually needs to say and, because in our district we require both. Right? But if for some reason that student cannot do that, we can make a determination to waive that. So we do have a waiver ability within our district, but the expectation is that they meet our district requirements unless there is a specific reason for the senior, and most of the time it's the student's credit deficient. So if a student would have to take 8 or 9 credits to get both of those, then we do allow the waiver of it. But we don't allow a student to take less than a full load in their senior year and waive it, if that makes sense. So that's how we kind of work through that process. So that changed from or to and. On page 5, this is where you see a lot of strike throughs. So here we actually spelled out all the requirements on page 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of what is in the table. So it didn't make sense to me to have a table, which actually I thought is a better lineup if you want to compare them than to have them then rewritten. So it was just redundant. So I am wanting to remove those. And then on page 10, I did add in here, there are different types of diplomas and seals that are offered, and it explains what those are. Right, so there are GPA requirements, for instance, for the advanced diploma. And there are requirements for like the college and career ready diploma. Yeah.
So that's something I've been wondering, because on the State Board of Education, there's been a lot of talk about that and pushing more students towards that more rigorous diploma.
Mm-hmm.
So how difficult would that be for our students? What percentage of our kids are getting those career and college readiness degrees? And if we wanted to increase that percentage, what would it take?
So currently the biggest barrier, that's an excellent question. And we do have, and I don't have the numbers right off the top of my head, so I don't want to give you bad data. I don't want somebody to fact check me and go, Mrs. Fuson, you were off by 5%. But what I can tell you is that a large portion of our students in our district earn the advanced and or the college and career ready diploma. What typically keeps a student from wanting one or the other is maybe they don't hit the GPA requirement, and or they didn't end up with like a career assessment, right? So I don't necessarily think it would be a difficult shift, because those are just, if a student doesn't have this or that, our counselors will advise the student, if you took this assessment, then you could get this seal. But to be honest with you, currently, unless you're just a student who is really self-driven and self-motivated, to take a student in the middle and say, we really need you to take this assessment, whether you get first aid or if you get your OSHA or whatever, in order for you to get this career-ready designation, that's not really an incentive for them, because that career-ready designation, truly and honestly, other than putting more information on their diploma, making their diploma look pretty cool, doesn't really get them anything when they leave. And if they're the type of kid who is already wanting to go to college and or into a highly competitive career area, they already know that and they're getting it. So if we wanted to make it a requirement to catch those in the middle kids, I don't think it would be that hard, because it would be like, no, you have to now take this. And the kids would say, okay, right? But given the opportunity to say, hey, here's this opportunity for this seal, they're like, what does it get me? It gets you a seal that's put on your diploma. What else? Not much. And it's just really, yeah, right? It's just really not that incentivizing. But I don't think it would be difficult to make the shift, I guess is what I'm saying.
My biggest worry about that is even children or students who earn a standard diploma, that's an accomplishment. And I don't
Yes.
want to diminish that, because they stuck it out, they met the requirements, and that's an accomplishment. Something to be
Yes.
proud of.
Absolutely. The one bit of discussion that I have heard, and that my opinion has been asked by NDE, is whether or not I see a problem with them combining the advanced diploma with the college and career ready diploma, and just having the college and career ready diploma and then the standard diploma. I don't necessarily see a problem with that either, right? I don't know that you need those two types of diplomas side by side. So if that was a situation where you have that as the advanced diploma, so the advanced college and career ready diploma, and then the standard, I don't think that would be a difficult shift either, really, for our school district. I don't think we would end up with any students not graduating. Now, if you try to do away with the standard diploma and say that you're raising that standard to that of the college and career ready diploma, then that could be a problem for kids, right? That other step. So some work would have to be done around that. Yeah. In our district, just so you know, the state does not require districts to participate in the SEAL programs. So current students can get or earn a SEAL in the SEALs of biliteracy, civics, financial literacy, STEM, and STEAM. There are state requirements for those SEALs that students have to have, but again, districts can choose or not choose to do them. We do, right? Because for some students, they really like to have all of those on their diploma, and we're all about options. So if that's going to motivate students and they want to work towards those so that they can have that designated on their diploma and on their transcript, by all means. So we do participate in those programs. The one SEAL that I think is really beneficial for kids, and I want this on the record for kids or families who may be listening, is the SEAL of biliteracy. Because if you can prove that you are fluent in 2 languages, and then here is an actual document that you can take to employers to prove that you are fluent in 2 languages, right? So that one, I really highly encourage all of our second language students to try to pursue that.
So I have a question on, so with that biliteracy, it is for the college and career readiness. So why wouldn't we put 2.0 on the table? Instead, we have 0.0 with 2 stars saying refer to, section A. If we're going to require it, why wouldn't we just put it there on the table? Do you see what I mean?
If we're going to require the seal of biliteracy?
No,
I'm not
well,
sure.
because we require the 2, for the career readiness, do we not require 2 years? of
There's
second language?
different ways that a student can get to career readiness. There's different indicators. So those are actually listed on page 11
Okay.
that actually tell you what those requirements are to get those, either the college ready or the career ready endorsement. So there's more than one way. So yeah. So I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. It would make sense, except then we would have to, I think, have to reflect all those other things.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Right. So bringing us to page 11, this talks about the additional college and career ready diploma requirements. So that first one is proficiency in speaking 2 or more languages, getting the syllabary literacy, or 2, not less than 2 units of credits used to fulfill the required course units of credit in advanced placement, international baccalaureate, dual credit, career and technical education, work-based learning, or world language. So you don't have to have the 2 language credits. You can have one of those. Yeah, you can have those other options. And then that third one says must earn at least one of the 2 associated endorsements. So for the college ready, they have to get a high enough score in the ACT, and that lists it. Or career ready, they have to pass one of the 2 State Board Education's approved career readiness assessments listed there, or earn a CTE skill attainment certificate, or earn an industry recognized credential. So the Owen list is very long. If you ever want to look at the Owen list, but you can go and look at that. There are about, I don't know, probably 50 different industry recognized credentials that a student can earn to get that career ready endorsement piece. And we do offer some of those in our schools. So for instance, all of our students who are in career and technical education, like engineering, they do OSHA testing. So if they do that test and get that credential, that would count towards here. Most of them also end up doing the 2-year pathway in CTE and then end up having that for the college ready component fulfilled too, but if that makes sense. Any questions on those particular items? Yeah.
Just something little.
Mhm.
On the page 2 table at the bottom with the 2 asterisks, says see college career ready diploma section A. It's referencing page 7, which we struck out, and now that information is on page 11 under Roman numeral 2.
Yeah, well,
Just-
thank you. Yeah, we will definitely update that once we remove all of the
Yeah.
stricken information. So thank you, yeah,
Yeah, sure.
for reminding me.
I have a couple questions. Oh,
Sorry,
you-
Matt and Laurel.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh,
Go ahead,
okay.
Matt.
Page 4, the last line, superintendent has the authority to reduce a student's course enrollment for good cause. What would just be an example? Is that like a death in the family and they had to miss extensive school, or?
So
would be
what
a
that
reason?
really is referring to is, so we offer 7 credits at Carson High School and 8 classes, 7 classes at Carson, 8 classes at Pioneer. State law only requires 6. So if for some reason we needed to consider a reduced schedule down to 6, that could be done. Maybe a student has a health-related need and has a 504, and because of that, schools, that long of a school day is challenging for that student, we could reduce that. In some cases, that is actually, we have students who are employed, who have a job, and they can actually earn work experience credit, and they can turn in their paycheck stubs and get work experience credit. So the superintendent or his designee can approve that as well as a course. So in some of our situations, we do have students that are working and then applying those towards their minimum course load.
Gotcha, thank you. And then one other question, and you might have to correct me. So in the past, I know, so page 10, the types of diplomas, I know historically the adjusted diploma wouldn't allow a kid to get into college or tech school or anything. Has that been fixed to where they will, like it's been changed, or is that like a college or tech school entrance requirement?
So that is an excellent question, because we no longer offer typically adjusted diplomas. There's now an alternate, well, we do, but, okay, how do I?
I'm just wondering, because I work with high-risk kids.
Yes, this is a little
and
complicated.
it's always been,
You're gonna
like,
throw a complicated one at me.
yeah. It's just been one of those things. I just want to make sure it was hard because a lot of times they had this stigma like, well, I can't go to college, right?
Right.
I'm not gonna get it. And so I'm just
So
wondering.
the only
what all
students
these-
who are eligible for an adjusted diploma are students on an IEP and usually students with severe cognitive impairments. And even then, not always. I mean, it has to be really, really an impaired student because the state, and I don't remember which year or which session passed it, but passed the alternative diploma. So an alternative diploma is for now a student, a special needs student, and they have specialized testing that is aligned to still the state standards. So we do have, for instance, in alternative standards classrooms, our students in alternative standards classrooms in high school. For instance, we're just creating a chemistry class for students on those alternative standards. Now, is it chemistry like our regular program chemistry? No, but there's been identified connectors that say, okay, so here's what this would look like for a student with severe cognitive disability. And so they can take that and it's adjusted to their level and then they can earn those courses. So we mirror all of the core academic requirements for the standard diploma for our students on alternative standards programming, and they can earn that alternative standards diploma. This is a big deal because the governor signed, I don't know if you remember the year, it was like 3 or 4, something like that years ago, that alternative diploma is considered a high school diploma. So now, our colleges have worked with us in terms of that. So our students, some of our students do attend college, even if they have, again, what we consider, more severe cognitive needs, delays. And so they do training programs at the college level too. So that's what that shifted to, right? It used to be the adjusted diploma was here's the IEP, et cetera. Now there is an adjusted diploma. So to get down to that area, but again, it's only students who have really severe needs. And those are really your nonverbal students who are maybe non-ambulatory. And so really that adjusted diploma is basically saying you've met your IEP goals as they've been written for you that have been adjusted substantially to your needs, right? You're not basically interacting with general ed level curriculum or even topics, if that makes sense. So that's how that's changed. There used to be back several years ago, there used to be like students would get a certificate of attendance when they hadn't passed proficiency exams, et cetera. Those have been gone for a long, long time. So really what you see now in terms of options are on that page 2. We don't even we don't list the adjusted diploma there because that is the one that is technically not considered or observed as an actual high school diploma. And we're, like I said, we're talking about students with real severe
So the majority of them
limitations and
will get
needs.
them into the military or college or something.
Yes.
Higher post.
Yes.
Post,
Your alternative degree that's here, your alternative diploma, is that going to usually get you into the military? Probably not. Again, you're talking students with still substantial cognitive delays, but there are college programs. So that's why I'm always hesitant to say, well, there's college programs for our students with those levels of needs. And there are also Job Corps works with us. There's job training programs, et cetera. So it is definitely a valid and valuable diploma for our students who have specialized needs.
Thank you.
I know that was very convoluted. I hope that
No, it's fine. It's
explained.
perfect.
Yeah.
You're good.
Right. Okay, and then,
Laurel, you had
Laurel, I'm sorry, Laurel.
That's okay. Just on page 1 in the first paragraph, when it talks about who meets the requirements of graduation established by the board and approved by the State Board of Education. In the policy, it says established by the district, and it talks about the NRS.
So we will change that one there to
Okay.
NRS. Thank you. Yeah, I think that makes more sense.
Okay, and the district too, because I don't want a new board to come in and be like, we're gonna change what it is, like have.
Okay.
I know what it, I don't know,
Yeah.
just the wording.
Yeah, we'll make that consistent with that on the policy. You bet. And then on page 11, the bottom, actually, where it says minimum course enrollment, I just shifted that over because that's actually obviously the title of a new area, so it just needed to be moved over. And that part, I wanted to make just a point about seniors, and sometimes when seniors can't have reduced schedules. So you'll know, those of you who have seniors and experienced seniors in your with your own children, yes, a student who is considered college or career ready can have 4 classes if they're on track for graduation and only need 4 classes. So seniors can have reduced schedules, and we get full apportionment for those students. If you are not a student who's on track and or who has scored college and career ready as determined by an ACT passing score, then you have to take a minimum of 6 classes. If we have students who have less than 6 classes as a senior who have not scored high enough on the ACT, when we get audited by the state, which we do every year, and our high schools get usually audited like every 3rd year, like this year Carson High is getting audited, then we lose apportionment, we lose funding for that kid as a full-time student. So sometimes we have parents that will try to push back on the schools and say, well, my kid only needs these 4 classes to graduate. I want my child to have a reduced schedule. And the school has to explain to him, your child's not college and career ready, but my student is working, my student's doing this. Your student is not college or career ready, ergo, your student has to take 6 classes. And that is, again, the district is held accountable through apportionment. They will take the funding for those students. So we hold firm to that. And I know that sometimes comes up. It comes up every year, at least to my office level, about why we're not allowing this senior to have 4 classes and making them take 6. And that's so unfair because they've earned the right. And I'm like, well, then take the ACT again or the SAT and get a high enough score on it. We can consider you career ready, college and career ready, and then we can reduce that schedule. So that's what that back part is about.
Any other questions for? Okay, seeing none. Tasha, thank you.
All right. Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
Good information. Okay, we're going to move on to item 10, discussion and possible action to approve proposed changes to CCSD policy 301, equal opportunity in employment and education, which includes renumbering the policy to 1001 in section 1000. All staff. This is the second reading for possible action, and Superintendent Fueling is going to present.
Thank you, President Cassiopo. I think we should have Tasha come up here and explain that all again. With that. Apologies for Mr. Sadler. He couldn't be here this evening, so I'll just be bringing these policy changes up and just skipping ahead. So we have items 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, and 15.
And I think, unless I'm wrong, we can, since it's policy after policy with the same presenter, can you just continue on, or how do we?
So
Well, actually, we have to make a motion. We have to do it individually.
the
though.
difference is these are for action tonight. It's the second reading.
Right, thanks.
Okay. Starting then with number 10. Again, all of these are for second reading, so I don't have much to say unless there's any questions or comments from the board.
Okay, and we have it in front of us. We've seen these before. Does anybody have any questions? If not, this is an action item.
I'll make a motion. I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve March 26, 2024 as the revised date for Policy 301, Equal Opportunity in Employment and Education, which includes renumbering Policy 301 to 1001 in Section 1000, all staff.
Okay, we had a motion and a second by her trustee Walker. If I got that right. Did Molly beat you? That's right. We're going to give trustee Walt the credit. How's that? All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further board discussion? Seeing none, any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item 11, discussion and possible action to approve proposal to eliminate CCSD policy 301.1, affirmative action plan due to proposed inclusion of renumbered policy 301 equal opportunity in employment and education. This is a second reading for possible action.
Thank you, President Cassioppo. Again, this is effectively a cleanup because of changes of moving policy 301 to 1001 for second reading and consideration tonight.
I can make that motion.
Okay, we good on moving to a motion? Trustee Clapham.
I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve March 26th, 2024 as the eliminated date for policy 301.1 affirmative action plan.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second by Trustee Walker. Any board discussion? Seeing none, any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 12, discussion on possible action to approve proposal to eliminate CCSD policy 401, employment philosophy due to proposed inclusion of renumbered policy 301, equal opportunity in employment and education. This is a second reading for possible action.
Thank you, President Cassioppo. Similar to the prior item, this is effectively cleanup by eliminating policy 401 due to the inclusion or creation of policy 1001. So consideration to take action to eliminate this policy.
Okay, board discussion? If not, someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve March 26, 2024 as an eliminated date for policy 401, employment philosophy.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and a second by Trustee Varner. Any further board discussion? Seeing none, any public comment on this? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going to move on to item, where am I here, 13? Discussion and possible action to approve proposal to eliminate CCSD policy 401.1, affirmative action plan due to proposed inclusion of renumbered policy 301, equal opportunity in employment and education. Second reading for possible action.
Thank you, President Cassioppo. Again, similar to prior items, this is cleanup, elimination of this policy, language being moved to policy 1001, taking care of that going forward for consideration.
Okay, any board discussion on this? If not, it's a motion item again,
I'll move that
or an action item,
Carson
sorry.
City School District Board of Trustees approve March 26, 2024 as the eliminated date for policy 401.1 affirmative action plans.
Okay, motion second by Trustee Ramirez. Any board discussion? Seeing none, any public comment on this? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 14, discussion and possible action to approve proposed changes to CCSD policy 314, teacher probation and evaluation. This is again a second reading for possible action.
Thank you, President Cassioppo. Second reading of policy 314. This item was for cleanup. The last revision was approximately 20 years ago, so updating that. Last time there were no changes suggested and for consideration for approval this evening.
Okay, any questions on this item or board discussion? Seeing none, anyone want to make a motion?
I will. I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve March 26, 2024 as the revised date for policy 314, teacher probation and evaluation.
Okay, motion second by Trustee Walker. Any board discussion? Seeing none, any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. It's pretty good, right? 15, discussion and possible action to approve proposed changes to CCSD policy 344, Family and Medical Leave Act, which includes renumbering the policy to 1005 in section 1000, all staff. Second reading for possible action.
Thank you, President Cassioppo. Again, policy moving to all staff. That was one correction made on this one, taking out the word certified at the top of it, moving to policy number 1005. Again, this first came into effect about 20 years ago, so just updating it to modernized language. Last time, there were no suggested changes other than the modification of certified to all.
Okay, thank you. Any board discussion on this? If not, anyone want to make a motion? Rich?
I'll make the motion. I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve March 26th, 2024 as a revised date for Policy 344, Family and Medical Act, which includes renumbering Policy 344 to 1005 in Section 1000, all staff.
I would just
Would-
note
would-
that we should probably call it Family and Medical Leave Act.
I will amend the motion to include Family Medical Leave Act.
Okay, we have a revised motion and a second on that. Any board discussion, further board discussion? Seeing none, any public comment on this? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item 16. Thank you, Superintendent Fueling. Item 16, designation of Silva, Serene and Associates LLC as the independent audit firm for fiscal year 2024 in an amount not to exceed $69,700 as budgeted, as required by NRS 354.624. This is for possible action.
Thank you, Mr. President. Spencer Winward for the record. And again, we're here approximately 1 year from this time last year to designate our auditor as required by statute, that we do that by March 31st. So again, we have a great working relationship with the auditors at Silva, Sharani and Associates, who've been doing our audit for over 10 years now. Wish to continue that relationship with them. And I'm open to any questions you may have regarding this process.
Any board questions? Trustee Walt?
Yeah, I think it was the same question as last year, though. So for an amount this high, we don't have to put it out to bid and
Nope.
at least get 3 bids?
No, for a professional services contract, it's not necessary to go out to bid.
Oh, okay.
However, we do some research and kind of check to make sure that we're getting a good value. A couple of things that we did, Elko County School District is another comparable district to us. So we looked at who doesn't use Silva, Sharani Associates. Lyon County uses them, Douglas County uses them. They do several of the charter or Montessori schools around here as well. So Elko is the other district in the state that's similar to us that does not use them. They use a firm called Eide Bailey. And last year, their cost for that audit was $80,000. If we were to go out and look for a different firm to do this, Eide Bailey would be number 1 on our list because there's a very small niche market of firms that do this type of auditing. And if we desire to stick with a regional one, which I certainly would since they know the state better than a national firm would, they would probably be on our short list of auditors to reach out to. Where it's considerably more money, we didn't feel like it would make sense to waste our time to go out to do an RFP process to look for that. Kafori Armstrong was another firm that did that. They have since been purchased by Eide Bailey a number of years ago. There's a couple others out there that potentially could, but we'd be getting into the realm of national firms that generally come with a higher price tag and less local knowledge of Nevada law, statutes, and requirements. The firm that we used prior to Silva Sharani, the fees that he's charging today is still less than what we paid 10 years ago. So we feel it's an exceptional value, very well pleased with the product we get, and for that reason, desire to continue working with this firm.
And then I'll just also note that when times were a little bit more tough fiscally, they didn't raise our fees for a number of years. So they've always been very reasonable and have detailed answers to any of our questions, so.
Thank you. I may note this is a 4% increase over the previous year. The year prior was also 4% increase, which I think both years were, at least on average, were below the consumer price index for inflation. So he's been very, very fair and reasonable in his increases for the work that he does for us.
And I would just add, not only are they fair and reasonable to us, but they're a respected firm and they do good work. So I think we've been really lucky having a partnership with them. Any additional questions? Trustee Crossman?
No, I'll just make a motion whenever we're ready, if nobody has any
Nobody
other-
objects? Let's go to a motion.
Okay. I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve the audit firm of Silva, Scarini, and Associates, LLC, as the auditors for fiscal year 2024 for a contract amount not to exceed $69,700.
We have a motion. We have a second by Trustee Walker. Any further board discussion? Seeing none. Any public comment on this? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Yeah, we're gonna miss that, but we're gonna persevere. Okay, as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, we pulled item 17 from the agenda just because there was no considerable new information, and that is going to be coming back to us at a future meeting. Item 18, we're going to move on to, that's approval of the consent agenda. This is for possible action.
Second.
Motion and a second by Trustee Varner. Any board discussion? Seeing none, any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item 19 is informational items for discussion only. Does the board have any questions on the informational items? Yeah,
But
Trustee Ramirez.
Just a clarification. So on the item number B, activities and events, pre-K kindergarten, are those to require, do they require that the children are 5 years of age? Is that one of the requirements? Does that apply to both, to pre-K and kindergartners? Just a clarification on that.
So item 19B,
Mhm.
the first solid bullet is starts pre-K, comma, kindergarten.
Requirement.
And then below that, the hollow bullets.
The requirements.
The second one says must be 5 years of age on or before August 1. And the way it's written, it pertains to pre-K, kindergarten, new and returning
correct?
students. Do you have that, AJ?
Sorry, yeah. So for kindergarten, excuse me, 5 years old by August 1st. For
Pre-K.
pre-K,
I thought it was 4.
Mrs. Fuson, I'm actually looking at you because you would have to be 4 years old by that August 1st date, correct? So I don't know if that needs to be clarified. That's the intent, if that's not exactly clear.
So really how it should be revised is for kindergarten, must be 5 years of age on or before August 1. For pre-K, must be 4 years of age on or before August 1.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that adequate?
Yeah, so we can't obviously change the agenda now it's published, but the minutes can reflect the clarification.
Okay, and the minutes will reflect that. Any other questions on the informational items? Seeing none. Trustee Ramirez, thank you for catching that.
Sure.
Item 20, request for future agenda topics. Okay, seeing none at this time, we are going to move to adjournment. Thank you, everybody. We're adjourned.